Welcome back to Saints Together, Conversations in Leadership and Christian Higher Education. My name is Jay McCurry. I serve as the Provost and Chief Academic Officer at Randall University in Moore, Oklahoma. Today we're talking about a phrase that I absolutely love, and it is faculty as shepherd scholars. And it's the role of faculty in teaching truth, mentoring students, and modeling a biblical worldview in a way that shapes the whole person. Today, I'm so honored to be joined by Pastor Daniel Sweet. Pastor Sweet serves as the lead pastor of Calvary Church in Norman, Oklahoma, and he serves as the chair of Randall's School of Christian Ministry. Daniel, thank you so much for joining us and being with us today.
Well, thank you for having me, Dr. McCurry. It's an honor. Love Randall. Love what you're doing here. Just really appreciate your professionalism that you bring here to Randall, and you're making a big impact. And thanks for having me on. Appreciate it. Looking forward to it.
Well, thank you for being here. I kind of wanted to set the stage for why Shepherd Scholars matters. So here's the tension in Christian higher education. We want faculty who are excellent scholars. They're serious about truth, disciplined in thinking, capable in their fields. But we also want faculty who shepherd their students, faculty who care about formation, not just information. And the research backs up what many of us feel intuitively, that relationships with faculty have a lasting impact. Gallup's work on the college experience found that when graduates say they had professors who cared about them, made them excited about learning, and encouraged their dreams, that their odds of being engaged at work and thriving in life more than doubled. So this isn't just extra, this is central to everything that we do. So Daniel, I want to ask you, you've lived this in two worlds, the local church leadership and Christian higher education leadership. As pastor at Calvary for a number of years, I think since 2012, maybe?
2012, yeah.
2012,
Yep.
and you're also leading our ministry department here at Randall. So when you hear the phrase shepherd scholar, what does that mean to you?
People don't care what you know until they know how much you care.
Yeah.
Now, you've heard that before. One of the things that I do in discipleship at the church is there's a principle that I use called high invite, high challenge. And I do my best to live that out, I suppose, everywhere. And that is essentially like the more Jesus models this, high invite, high challenge,
Okay.
Jesus is going to call his disciples to do ridiculously hard things. He tells people to die to their flesh. He tells them to storm the world and to make disciples. They are going to give up their lives for the sake of the gospel. He makes the biggest, he demands Jesus 100% of the disciples' lives, not part of it. So that's a high challenge. How can, like if somebody just walked up to me and asked me to meet this high difficult task, and they're a complete stranger to me, that's a hard no.
Right.
And so like, that's the principle is if we're going to challenge people to a high level, we have to have high relationship with them. And that Jesus had that. These were not, Jesus says later in his ministry, no longer do I call you servants, I call you my friends because that is what you are. And so Jesus could make these high demands of Peter, James, and John and all the rest because he was more than just their rabbi. He was their brother. He was and probably in some ways he was a father figure to them. He was all of these things, of course, Lord, Messiah, and all of that. That's, as I pour into young people's lives here on an institutional level, they need to know that I care about them. They need to know that I care about their lives. I'm here for them. I'll go the extra mile and do those sort of things. And I try to, actually model that, not just say it. Anybody is going to be able to reach them with knowledge. The high challenge part is like we're trying to educate them, learn these things and live them out. Incredibly difficult, and they're going to do a better job of that when they know that you care about them, love them, you have their back, and all of those things.
You have the relationship.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. High invite. Yep.
That's great.
Mm-hmm.
really an emphasis on the relationship and the importance of having that relationship with our students. Okay, so I'm going to take that a step further. So, how do you help faculty and students understand what it means to model a biblical worldview without turning every class into a sermon?
Certainly, lecturing can turn sermonic if one is not careful. Right? Instruction is just going to come across as one direction.
Hmm.
At some point, it just is. But trying to turn a lecture into a conversation is very effective.
Hmm.
And one thing that at least, I don't know if I do this every single time, is I try to pull out the iPad,
Hmm.
project it on the screen, and try to turn whatever I'm teaching into what I would call like a life shape.
Hmm.
And maybe just think like conceptually to take anything that you're teaching and try to put space and shape to it on a whiteboard, on paper, on an iPad. This is really handy with the biblical text, which that's my world, right? That's what I'm teaching.
Right.
Those kinds of things, theology, ministry, the Bible. And so it does lend itself to space and shapes.
So, it's an actual picture.
Yeah. Like,
Okay.
and I'm not even saying like I'll go into a lecture knowing exactly what I'm going to do. It's almost, I don't know if it's sort of freestyle, whatever, but it is a really helpful skill that a teacher, anybody can learn how to do this, is to take an abstract idea, take something like love,
Okay.
right? And we can take an abstract idea and we can put space and shape to it. When people think of the abstract idea of love, the shape, of course, is a
Heart.
heart,
Right.
right? And so that's a very basic, very simple understanding. But like when you're teaching through things like that, to use tools like that, I think that way, sort of tactile. I want abstract thoughts to become something I can see and just experience. I try to do that. I don't know that I do that every time, but I do. I attempt to do that often as I lead in the classroom.
So, what does it look like to teach truth in love? And so at Randall, I know we have a lot of students. They may come from a different church background, maybe a different denominational background, maybe students that maybe disagree. In those moments, what would that look like, teaching truth with love?
Well, I'll just talk, Dr. McCurry, if it's okay, just about our ministry department.
Sure. Yeah, that'd be great.
Because that's where I mostly live here. We have young people from different denominational backgrounds here at Randall, and that's okay. We celebrate it. We're not against it. We're for it. And so we have most come from a Baptistic background and that sort of thing, but not exclusively. I think being in seminary, being in a PhD program is very helpful to sort of understand like there's different views to this particular interpretation or this view of theology. And what I would just say to that is like, it's important that you have conviction about what you believe and where, how you interpret this passage or whatever. And some things we should have more conviction than others. But even in disagreement, I can try to see this other person's perspective and bring them into a conversation to help them see, okay, it's fine that you hold that view, but you need to understand like there's a bigger world and people wrestle over this. And so I think when it comes to doctrinal positions, that's a loving thing to do, is to help people see like, I appreciate you have that view, that perspective, and they may even hold on to it, sort of dogmatically and very tightly, and just sort of acknowledge that's fine, that's good, but there is a bigger view out here, and that's I guess that's the context of like in the classroom, truth and love coming together is attempting as best that you can, even though you have your convictions, to see the nuance of different perspectives and to to entertain them and talk about them. But at the end of the day, you have your view, you have your position while respecting
Respecting theirs.
theirs. 100%.
I know I teach a cases in leadership class, and we were discussing this very thing, and we're looking at leadership traits of very well-known historical leaders, and just how most of them, they had to learn how to work with others that had opposing viewpoints.
Yeah.
And I encourage my class, as they begin their leadership journey, to work on those areas of holding on to your convictions, but respecting others as well, and looking at the different viewpoints. Let me move on here real quick. I want to talk about
Sure.
mentoring for a second. A lot of students are quietly asking for mentoring, even if they don't say it that way. A recent student voice survey reported that a majority of students believe professors are at least partially responsible for mentoring. So from your seat, what does healthy faculty mentoring look like? And what boundaries or rhythms do you think keep it sustainable?
Just before I came over here, there was a group of colleagues. We went and right after chapel, we went and got a bite to eat, and we brought it back to the office. And there we are, three professors talking and chatting about, boring things like eschatology, biblical interpretation, things that concern us that we love.
Right.
And there was a few students walking outside of the office, and all of us just instinctually like, hey, come in here and sit. Come in here and just be with us, right? And they were sort of lingering outside anyway. And the next thing you know, we have about 6 students around us.
Wow.
And we're just cutting up and talking and just, we continued our conversation. And I think whatever that is, Dr. McCurry, whatever that is, that's the secret sauce. Yeah. That's what you got to do, is you have to be in their space, and you can't be in their space all the time. I mean, we're only human, right? We only have so much time and margin for things, but like, find ways to be in their space as a teacher to student, whatever their space might be. Be incarnational, be among them, take interest in them.
And you invited them. You were in the office, they were outside, and you invited them in to join you.
Intentional.
Right.
Right. And so we can mentor people by accident. I bet all of us have been mentored accidentally by someone else, positive or negative.
Right.
And that's fine. Like, that can work up to a point, but just being really intentional about spend time with me, right? Like, and you got boundaries and things you got to consider. All of that's wise, but like, be around, like, be in conversation outside of the typical classroom instruction. One thing that President Thompson says about Randall, and as far as I know, all of our faculty have taken it to heart, I know certainly I have, is like, 15 minutes before, 15 minutes after class, if students know, like, I can go up to class and I can have the professor's ear, that is huge, right? Like, sometimes, like, students will come to class early and they just want to chat about life, not necessarily about, that assignment or this or that. They just want to, I'm thinking of a few students that's the case, and they know you're going to be there a bit early. And then afterwards, right, conversation, and then typically if it's after class, it usually is about the subject matter. And, hey, listen, 80, 90% of the students, they're out the door, right? I got my next thing, but it's those other, that 5 to 10% of the students are like, no,
they want to linger around.
I want to linger. I want to talk. And then that just develops and leads to, just relationship. And that's, at an institution like ours, that is the secret sauce. So whatever that is, being very intentional to be in their space, invite them into your world, and just have wisdom about, like, time and boundaries and things like that.
I was just thinking as you were talking, Dr. John Jones is dean of our graduate program over our education, and he wrote a book. Kind of the thesis of the book is that leadership influence comes from relationships. And then from that relationship comes trust. And then after the trust, there's influence.
1,000,000%.
And so you have to begin, as a leader, you can't automatically expect to have influence. You have to build the relationship, and then it moves into the trust between the two.
That's good.
And then you can influence others.
That's really good.
Yeah.
He must be just so smart.
He is smart. He is. So, as chair of the School of Christian Ministry, you're shaping future pastors and Christian leaders.
Mhm.
What do you want graduates to be known for 5 years after graduation?
Well, first and foremost, followers of Jesus, young men and young ladies that are just passionate about their personal walk with Christ,
Right.
students of the Word. I mean, we are, our ministry department essentially functions as a Bible college,
Right.
and so like they love Scripture,
Right.
they love the Bible and they eat it and
Mhm.
that sort of thing. So those things, I envision our men and women to be equipped, of course, but hardworking. I can think of a lot of times in my life where I wasn't the most talented, I
Mhm.
wasn't the smartest. I probably lacked in this area or that area, and I saw, other people had this or that, whatever it might have been.
Mhm.
But hard work, just grinding,
Grinding it out.
will overcome
Right.
all of those things and will propel someone to really develop skills that they don't even know that they had, that are just sort of sitting in the basement.
Right.
And it's actually, they are really skilled and talented and have all this promise.
Mhm.
But if they don't ever just sweat and bleed and work really, really hard, they
Mhm.
don't even know that box is sitting down there.
Right. Perseverance.
Perseverance
Mhm.
and yeah. And so among all those other things, I hope that our young people go into local church ministry, the mission field,
Mm.
nonprofits, in whatever area the Lord has for them. And hopefully, yes, we've equipped them as best as we possibly can. Although we can't cover everything,
Right.
they have a work ethic, a Randall work ethic
Right.
that they will figure it out. They will cross that bridge, right?
figure it out,
Whatever
right.
the task is,
Mhm.
because they've been challenged enough here. And I don't know that we're hitting that ball perfectly, but but that's the target.
That's the target.
That's what we want to instill, among other things. But yeah.
Okay, so that kind of leads us to I'm kind of winding this down here a little bit, but what's the most challenging part of cultivating a faculty culture that's both academically serious and spiritually formative?
Busyness.
Come on now.
That's
Come
the
on.
most challenging part.
There's always something going on.
Like I just appreciate every and again, I can only focus on, the world that I live in and our ministry department here at Randall. I'm just so appreciative of the men and women who teach for us,
Mhm.
because like every one of us have a lot going on.
Yeah.
And I know that like there's not one person that teaches, and this may be true for our whole campus,
Right.
honestly, I don't know, but like it's certainly true in our ministry department. We bring in folks who are in ministry.
Mhm.
They're pastoring churches, they're involved in some sort of local church ministry.
Mhm.
And most of them, that's their primary thing.
Right.
And they're here teaching here because they love this institution. They love young people. They love the Lord and they
Right.
love ministry and they want to impact the world, and creating a culture where we are, as a faculty, both, academically rigorous, of course, but also like keeping Christ the main thing and sort of stoking that fire.
Mhm.
The most challenging part is we are all busy.
We're busy.
Every one of us are doing, several
Multiple things.
several things. But I say that like I'm just really impressed with our men and women that well, they grind.
They
and,
grind.
and they put in the hours and the long nights, and that we're making a huge impact for the kingdom, and doing our very best to stay on the same page, having consistent meetings, and it's just very difficult. It's very difficult, but we press on.
We
Dr.
press on.
McCurry.
We press on. We don't give up. So, we talk about busyness and people are wearing multiple hats. What is one practical habit, somebody that's listening to this podcast,
Mhm.
that you would encourage, a faculty member or staff member to adopt if they want to be a better shepherd scholar?
Wow, I love that you just asked that question because I'm ready.
Mm.
Here it is. Past 14, 15 years, God has convicted me of this. Wake up early
Mm.
and cut out TV.
Mm.
Cut out TV. Don't watch TV
Mm.
and discipline yourself to go to bed early enough that you can wake up early,
Mm.
sort of before everyone else is up. Now, some people can get real crazy about that,
Yeah. Yeah.
but you just get up early and start your day. There's just a few tasks that we really need to start our day off with to orient us and to help us improve ourselves and that sort of thing. And I can think of 3 or 4, 5 things to get on those quickly. And then it's like, I've already conquered the day.
You've conquered the day
I've conquered the day.
before you even left the house.
Yeah. Like
Yeah.
I like the main things I've gotten better at. I've done these things. And it's like, I mean, the day can only, be good really at this point, even though bad things can happen in our day. And then like, if a person can then figure out, like we have to have downtime, we have to relax, we have to wind down and all of that. But there's tons of ways that we can do that are actually beneficial to us.
Okay.
And I know I sound like I'm a million years old for saying this. I just don't think TV is one of them. Right. And I'm a sports guy, so I guess I'm not counting that. But I'm just talking about binge watching,
Right.
just watching.
Just to have it on, just to be
Just
on.
to have it on, like, okay, you know what the news is. You don't
Right.
need to be watching it for hours. You don't need to watch these shows. You don't need to be watching all these movies. I'm not speaking anything about the quality of the movie.
Right.
It's just mindless.
Yes.
Right. And there's other ways to rest and relax that are not mindless, that are actually you're resting and relaxing, but yet you're sharpening yourself, you're benefiting yourself, you're improving your relationships and your family. And it doesn't have to be laborious.
Right.
It doesn't have to be work.
Right.
It really can be rest and relaxation without zoning out like a zombie.
Right.
Even though we all have to have downtime.
Right.
And so that's what I would encourage, because like for me, those are the things that keep me up late, that keep my patterns off, my rhythms off, and just cutting out TV shows and movies and doom scrolling on the
Right.
phone, which is very difficult to do
Right.
in this day and age, for me, keeps me disciplined to go to bed when I need to go to bed and to get up when I need to get up so I can conquer the day. And you do that day after day after day after day after day, a person can accomplish
So much more.
so many.
Right.
I tell people in my church this, mostly young people, and I tell young people here this. Sometimes when there's the same people,
Yeah.
I say, you can do more than you think you can do.
Right.
You can accomplish more. Oh, I can only, I have so many hours from the class and I got to work and this and that. Hey, trust me,
Right.
there's more in the tank if you will just turn off the Call of Duty and video games. I think count as this too, and cut that stuff out of your life.
Right.
I mean, you'll become so much more productive, but you'll still be able to get just adequate sleep and rest and all of those things too.
But you get so much more done.
Yeah, and you're a more productive person, which gives you more self-confidence. You achieve more. You're going to go further in life. You're going to have better family, marriage, relationships, all of those kinds of things. You're a better follower of Christ.
If we really
And,
want to take this to another level, we could have listeners open up their smartphone or their iPhone and look at the productivity of how much time they have spent on their phone.
Preach.
So that's a whole nother podcast right there.
Yeah.
But yes, we do. But I love what you said is conquer the day before you ever leave the house.
That's right.
Yes.
That's right.
Yeah.
You know,
Great.
I'm not saying I hit that 1,000%, but
That's
like,
the target.
yeah.
That's what we're shooting for.
Yeah. Amen.
So good. Well, Pastor Daniel Sweet, thank you for your leadership at Calvary Church. Thank you for your leadership here at Randall in our School of Christian Ministry. To our listeners, Christian higher education will not be secured by branding alone. It will be secured by men and women who love truth, love students, and live what they teach. And again, so honored to have Pastor Sweet with us today to share his heart. Appreciate you all joining us today. Until next week, be the leader that you would follow. My name is Jay McCurry, and this is Saints Together.